Good afternoon to Dr. Myers and Dr. Hester and to this wonderful team that pulled this program together. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be a speaker. I thought that I was only supposed to do one thing downstairs, but like the Reverend Dr. Reynolds said, you start getting emails about other little things, so I didn't know I was going to have to speak. And then when I stood here, I was trying to remember what I was supposed to do. This has been so wonderful. I'm very excited about what's happening here, and as I have spoken to several people today, there are little patches of fire like this going on all around the country. I have opportunities to speak throughout the nation, and there are people that are having the same discussion and conversation. I'm excited about the time that we're in. As it was said earlier, I am the mother of Len Bias that died some 27 years ago, 2 days after being drafted by the Boston Celtics. And 4 years after his death, my second son, Jay, was violently murdered at a local mall. And as we talk about going from pain to loss, I thought I would lose my mind. It's on a daily basis that I meet not one mother, but several mothers or families that have drank from the same cup that I have drank from. If it's not from the loss of substance abuse or suicide, it is about the violence that is going on. So I would like to just share my perspective a little bit on how I got through. First and foremost, as Dr. Reynolds said, I'm just privileged to be here in this historical church. I just happened to be born AME here in this local area, and to stand here historically years and years and years, generations after my grandparents were here, it's just wonderful to be here. But I think back 27 years ago, and I think back, all of us have a good life. I look at the good life. All of us have a good life. And pretty much the Bias family had a good life. Everybody was just doing life normally. And so many times we're not aware that we're in the good life until changes come. So we were doing the good life, and things were going well, and we were just having our 4 children, running to basketball games, running to different activities, working every day, just doing life. And so it is with many of us, the good life. I heard someone read an essay once where someone said that their lover had called them, and their lover called them and told them they no longer wanted to be connected to them. And they asked, "Why do you want to leave me?" And they said, "Because I found another lover." And the writer said, this dream, they did not like it. They begged and pleaded with the lover not to leave. But the lover insisted upon leaving. And they did not like the dream. And they shook themselves and they shook themselves to wake themselves up to only find out it was not a dream. And then the writer says, the nightmare began. So it did with us, June 19th, 1986. Beautiful morning with the sun coming in. I can remember lying in the bed. I can remember laying there and just thinking what a beautiful morning it was. And what happened? There was a phone call, and the nightmare began for our life. Len Bias was in the hospital. Something had happened. My husband and I rushed to get there to find out what was going on, only to find out that Len was dead. We looked, we cried, we wept, we could not believe what we were experiencing. And then 4 years later, the same thing with my son Jay. Another nightmare, so much despair, so much hopelessness. But do I speak like I'm hopeless? Do I look like I'm hopeless? It's because hope is not extinct. And the difficult times that we're in the United States of America, that we're forced to look at today, is kicking us out of our comfortable position to maximize our potential in saving this nation's greatest natural resource. Pain to power, grief to empowerment. We have cried long enough. As Dr. Reynolds said, it's time to get up, get the stepping, and think of what Esther said. We have all been called for such a time as this, and we are our brother's keepers. Our young people are reachable, teachable, lovable, and savable, but we must change our approach in adapting to their needs. What worked in 1959, 1956, 1996, 2000, and 2005 will not ride in 2013. We have got to step our game up. We have to get up off of our apathy, and we have to get busy. We can no longer hold up the government, social workers, law enforcement, educators. We all have a part to play in bringing change. Every person in here has a part to play in bringing everyone together to making the whole. Everybody brings a measure. In closing, the last thing I will say is this, is that what is missing for me as I sit down and I look at everything we're dealing with today is that much emphasis and money is being put on the outcome of violence and drugs and so many other things we're going through. There are more jails being built. There are larger programs. Agencies have been developed around us not being able to solve a problem. Today, before we leave here, we need to become proactive. Prevention, the big P. If we take the energy that we put on the outcome and take some of that energy and put it on the front in prevention of these little babies that are here right now, 10 years from now, we won't have to have this conversation. We will be on the other side. May God bless you all, and thank you.
We now will proceed with a moment of silence. We want to not only reiterate that there's no suffering that heaven cannot heal, but we also want you to know that your suffering, your grief is the reason why we are here. Those of you who have lost your loved ones. Your suffering, your pain has summoned us to action, to dedicate our life to work to make things better. So as I call your name, those of you who have lost loved ones because of this cycle of violence, would you please stand wherever you are, all over the sanctuary, and we will have a moment of silence where we will think and pray in our own way for you, and you're sharing your grief with us. Aaron D. Kidd, son of Teresa Williams. Charles Michael Walker, son of Latasha Massey. LaFranco Devon Williams, cousin of Lachelle Anderson. Brian Matthew Bridges, son of Ernestine Bridges. His uncle Ken Bridges was killed by the DC snipers while he was pumping gas in Northern Virginia. Marcus Dwayne Murray, son of Reverend Emily Ward. Are you here, Reverend Ward? and Alfred Henderson, who was my brother, murdered in Los Angeles. Let's have a moment. And also, is there anybody else who has lost a loved one to violence? Would you please stand? We will now have a moment of silence. You may take your seats. And as you take your seat, I want you to understand that we had a moment of silence, but we will not be silent. We will keep on keeping on until, in the words of Amos, until judgment runs down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream.